Next on Paranormal, Caught on Camera. An investigator in Peru.
This place is truly like a maze.
Next on Paranormal, Caught on Camera. An investigator in Peru.
This place is truly like a maze.
Spots a shadowy entity in a haunted mansion.
That one actually really creeped me out. That was definitely terrifying.
Is this large, hairy creature on Vancouver Island Bigfoot?
When you see something like that and you don't know what it is, you're scared.
A truck driver in Illinois spots a ghost on the highway.
I had chills for a week after this happened.
And even more paranormal footage you have to see to believe. In Peru, there is an old residential complex known as La Quinta Hidden, and it's said to be extremely haunted. Constructed in the late 1800s, the group of houses and mansions went on to become homes for diplomats and the wealthy, one of whom was a Japanese businessman who died by suicide in 1928 by reportedly slitting his own throat. Many believe the paranormal activity on the property stems from this tragedy. Recently, a paranormal enthusiast went there to find out for himself. And according to what he found,
Holy crap, that is so creepy.
the rumors are true. March 14th, 2024. Lima, Peru. Frank Mendez has just arrived to explore the abandoned mansions of La Quinta Hidden.
Look at that.
He begins in the building where a Japanese businessman suffered a gruesome death by suicide.
If you look here, they got really cool samurai swords.
My name is Frank Mendez, and this is my video. Every time I do my videos, I make sure I'm 100% alone. There is nobody else there. So that way it filters out any of the could have been this person or that person.
Though Frank is sure no other people are on the property tonight, something else certainly seems to be.
You hear it? What the hell is that?
As I kept walking around, just started hearing things left and right.
I just heard a noise. There's something down there.
The fact that I was looking down there felt like it was kind of leading me to go downstairs to explore it.
Oh God, this is stupid.
But I don't trust going down there. I want an easy way out in case I gotta run.
So Frank plays it safe and heads over to another one of the mansions. But on the way there, he stopped in his tracks.
Is that door swinging? The door is freaking swinging right now. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on my flashlight. Yep. Holy crap, that is so creepy.
This time, Frank feels compelled to check it out.
I noticed as I was getting closer, it wouldn't stop, kind of moving back and forth. So I made my way towards the front of the house. Then I just completely jumped inside, looked towards the right, and nothing's at the door. The door was just right there as it slowly just stops moving.
What?
Why? Why would you want to walk inside of a place of a door that's constantly opening and closing and you can't see who's doing it?
Frank may not see who's moving the door, but a few minutes later,
Listen.
To me, this was the scariest part of this because it was so soft, but it's pretty clearly a human voice humming. It set my teeth on edge hearing that sound.
Hola?
And it gets even more hair-raising when Frank moves further into the building.
God, I am freaking out in here. Look at that, look at that. It just moved.
I'm convinced that must have been something from the other side. That was definitely terrifying.
Regardless, Frank, now several hours into his exploration, decides it's time to keep moving.
At this point now, I am running out of time. I want to be able to explore the other mansion. This place is a bombshell of activity.
He heads to the third mansion,
Holy crap.
where things suddenly ramp up significantly.
This place is truly like a maze.
Watch again. As a small, dark figure moves from left to right in the dining room.
If we haven't seen enough creepy, unnerving evidence and things unfolding in this location, we see clearly a black figure. To me, it seemed female in nature, and it's just going right by the window. That was a pure happy accident to capture that, or meant for him to see. Either way, that's very unnerving.
And once again, when Frank approaches,
I just see something pass by right here.
there's nothing. So, could all the activity Frank captured be related to the Japanese businessman who died by suicide in one of the mansions?
Often tragedies such as this are cited as the cause of dark, paranormal energy or activity. The theory being that the spirit is still restless and maybe it's trying to work through some unresolved business.
That's certainly a possibility. But after about 6 hours of exploring, Frank calls it a night. And though it was terrifying at times, he's looking forward to returning to La Quinta Hiren in the future.
100% that place is very paranormal. And when I go back to Peru, I plan on visiting that location again.
Coming up, multiple mysterious lights are spotted outside an airplane window. The alien invasion. A theoretical event that, if it ever happened, would surely cause widespread panic. Which is why if you spot a UFO, especially among a large group of people, it might be best to stay calm until you know exactly what is happening. Just ask a couple from Washington who recently did exactly that while 30,000 feet in the air, and might very well have prevented a panic in the skies. May 2022. Somewhere over California. John Carlin is sitting next to his wife on a flight from California to Denver when, at cruising altitude, she spots something odd outside the window. Not sure what to think of it, and a little freaked out, she points it out to John and pulls out her phone to record. It's 4 or more bright glowing objects in the distance, appearing to keep pace with the plane. And John and his wife are totally baffled.
My name is John, and this is our video. We had not been in the air all that long when all this occurred. She turned to me and just said, "Do you want to see a UFO?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, you're kidding." But I looked out. We were just both really excited to be seeing what we were seeing and very curious and wondering what it was going to do.
At first, I thought I was looking at maybe a roughly airplane-shaped craft with lights on it. Like lights at the ends of the wings, lights in the middle of the wings, lights on the body. Until the lights started kind of moving around and some would turn off and some would turn on. At which point, immediately, my brain flipped to seeing this as multiple craft.
Or maybe they're clustering around because they're kind of feeding off the energy of each other. I mean, these things are obviously have some kind of energy to them. They're not just, floating in the wind.
Making the experience even more surreal for John and his wife. No one else on the plane seems to notice the objects.
We were very much like, how is no one else seeing this? Because it was bright enough that if you had glanced out the window, there's no way you could have missed it.
I mean, sure, people are distracted on a moment-to-moment basis. And on a plane, maybe they're reading, maybe they're trying to take a nap and aren't looking out the window. But for the entire plane not to notice, it makes you wonder if this was an experience targeting this couple specifically.
Just like there's certain people that are more susceptible to seeing spirit, there are people out there that are more susceptible to seeing UAPs. It's because there is a sort of energetic alignment and awareness with this phenomena that makes them more prone to seeing this phenomena happen. Not everybody has the capacity to align with those types of phenomena, so they don't necessarily get to see them.
Which in retrospect, may be for the best.
Anytime I'm on a flight and in a window seat, yes, I am filming outside the window, trying to capture footage like this. But I never have, and if I did, I don't know what I would do. Would I tell the flight attendant? Would I tell the captain? Would I tell all the people around me? And if so, then what? What could I do about it?
If I saw this on a plane, I would freak out. I'm not gonna lie, I would freak out. Y'all ain't gonna make me think that I'm crazy. Everybody gonna know they saw this.
Though John is skeptical that he and his wife were actually the only witnesses.
I don't know how the pilots would have missed it. None of the passengers saw it, but there's no way anybody in the cockpit could have missed that.
I have a friend whose parent was a commercial airline pilot. I had asked them one time about, have you ever seen anything? That kind of thing. What I was told was that every airline pilot has seen something strange that they can't explain. And that they pretty much all believe that there's something else happening.
After about 5 minutes, the mysterious lights slowly drift away from the plane and out of sight. And while John and his wife are still curious as to what was flying next to them, whatever it was, he's just happy they captured it on camera.
Just one of those once-in-a-lifetime things. We saw something that we couldn't explain. I don't pretend to be smart enough to know whether there's, life visiting Earth or anything along those lines. But do I believe that there is life, somewhere else out there? Yeah, of course. I think there has to be.
Coming up, a truck driver's dash cam captures an apparition on the highway. Seeing a ghost is, for most people, Pretty terrifying. After all, it's not always clear what, if anything, they want, or if they mean any harm to those of us who are still living. But maybe the effect of seeing one of these entities depends less on its intention and more on our reaction to it. That seemed to be the case for one truck driver in Illinois, who spotted something on the road that was either warning him away from danger or trying to drive him directly into it. April 15th, 2024, Markham, Illinois. It's around 3 a.m., and truck driver Ken McGill is driving on I-57, not far behind another semi, when he spots something truly bizarre. Watch closely. Did you see it? Watch again, in slow motion. As Ken approaches an underpass, a white, nearly transparent figure seemingly appears out of thin air.
My name is Ken, and this is my video. I seen something come across the road as soon as that semi passed, and I was like, that's really weird, and it kind of gave me the chills when it happened. So when I got to stop for the day, I'm like, I'm gonna see if I seen this thing on the dash cam. So pull the dash cam, as soon as that semi goes, you can see the white figure pop out. And my thought is, if that was a person, they would have got swept under that semi because they would have been so close to that semi, and we're going, 65, 70 miles an hour down the highway. It just didn't make sense to me.
We see what clearly looks like a female spirit, a slightly transparent person. Even at first glance, you know something is a little off. Something isn't right about what you're seeing.
To me, it looks like a semi-transparent form of a dark-haired woman wearing what appears to be a white dress and apparently holding what looks like a bouquet of white flowers. It doesn't appear to be a living person that's trying to cross the road. And if it were, I think they would be a lot more cautious about these large trucks moving at such a high rate of speed.
While looking over the footage, Ken notices something else about the capture that seems off.
On the dash cam, there always shows a GPS when you download your stuff. It shows you where it was. When I downloaded this, it didn't have the GPS of where this was recorded at, which never happened before. I thought that was kind of weird.
The fact that his GPS went out right at the same moment that his dash cam captured this image, I think is really telling. Technological interference has really long been understood to suggest the presence of something, and now we're using that same technology to provide us with evidence of the presence of the paranormal.
But Ken is still uncertain what exactly he is seeing. So he posts the footage on social media and gets some startling feedback.
This guy reached out, a private messaged me and said, hey, was this, on this day at this time? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I went through there about 10 minutes before you did with another driver with me. And he said, we both seen a white figure in the road too. So a day goes by and I get another message from the guy and he goes, hey, did you see that there was an accident almost the same time as we went through there?
In fact, the accident the message referred to occurred the night after Ken captured the figure on his dash cam, killing 2 of the 4 people involved.
And when I read this, I was like, it just immediate chills just shot through my whole body. It was the freakiest thing ever.
And believe it or not, it gets even more freaky.
It is worth noting that tragically, a woman was struck and killed on this stretch of road after exiting her vehicle in 2019. And this death occurred right around the same time of night that this man's sighting took place, and around the 14th and 15th day of the month. That is a lot of corroborating activity leading up to this sighting.
Which begs the question, does this ghost have a purpose?
Are they trying to warn people when these spirits manifest or take shape? Or is this potentially what led to this accident, which led to these two different fatalities? So you wonder if this almost creates this domino effect of this reoccurring at this location time and time again.
If so, then Ken may have been one of the lucky ones to take it as a warning. But whatever the reason for the appearance, one thing is for sure. Ken's experience on that highway has forever changed him.
I had chills for a week after this happened because it was just so real. And I definitely think there's a good chance, that this could have been paranormal. It definitely makes you think different, that's for sure.
Coming up, did two hikers on Vancouver Island capture footage of Bigfoot? Within dense forests and the depths of the ocean lay potentially hundreds of cryptids hiding from human eyes. And while most do a very good job of it, those that grow more accustomed to living in remote areas occasionally let their guard down, leaving themselves wide open for a sighting. Just ask one couple in Canada who believe their hike in a remote town brought them within just a few feet of one of the most infamous of these creatures. August 2013, Vancouver Island, Canada. Wendy Taylor and her husband Joe Clemente are taking a hike near Port Renfrew, a town with less than 300 residents, when they spot something massive and covered in hair. Intrigued, Wendy takes out her phone and begins to record. It's a large, bipedal creature with gray fur, standing by their estimate about 7 feet tall, with its hulking back to the couple. Wendy and Joe are stunned.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Wendy.
And this is our video. Wendy's ahead of me, and we get in quite a ways into the forest, and she sees something in the distance, and she's like,
I was nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and I don't get scared easy, but I was kind of freaked out. It's like, what is that? I don't want to make a sound if this thing turns around, whatever it is, it comes at us.
Which begs the question, what exactly is it?
Whatever this thing is, it seems to be massive and really bulky and powerfully built. We get a view of what appears to be the back of its head and just an enormous shoulder and arm.
I think we're looking at a Bigfoot. A bear wouldn't necessarily stick around like this. It would take off. It would actually potentially reveal itself. This is intentionally keeping its back to the subject. We don't see facial features. A lot of times they're positioning themselves to almost look like a tree. And so this falls in line with that classic camouflage that they don't want to have anything to do with us. They don't want to reveal themselves, but he has got something that looks to me like a Sasquatch.
You always have to look at the location. Vancouver Island, Canada, that is definitely known to be a hot spot for the Sasquatch, for Bigfoot sightings. A lot of people that are seeking Bigfoot will go to that region of the country.
People who, Since the sighting, Wendy and Joe have become much more familiar with.
We actually have met people now too with stories, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you don't feel like you're alone.
I have a friend, he likes to go squatching. He'll go to these remote areas with his gal into Vancouver Island. And he says, yeah, he's seen some strange things. They've seen footprints, big footprints, or he's seen some strange structures. Like, how did somebody even make that where trees are kind of crisscrossed? Like, how did that's not natural. So it gets you thinking.
Why would the Pacific Northwest be such a hotspot for Sasquatch? Well, the area is covered in a dense, rich, temperate rainforest that would be an ideal habitat for a large primate.
After a few minutes, the creature walks farther into the forest and out of Wendy and Joe's sight. Freaked out, Wendy and Joe leave and later post the video online to see if anyone can verify what they saw.
When it disappeared, when it got out of sight, we got out of there. And I read some of the comments, well, why didn't you go after it? Or did you go? It's like, are you kidding me, man? I'm not going to follow. I don't know what I was even looking at there.
Wendy and Joe may not be 100% certain what it was in the woods that day, but they definitely aren't ruling out Bigfoot.
Maybe it was.
We're believers.
I'm a believer.
And I just think it's a very rare percentage of people that actually would see a Sasquatch.
And since they visit Vancouver Island a couple of times a year, they hope to catch a glimpse of it again.
I'm hoping we see something another time, but we'll be in our vehicle as we're driving past it. Not in the forest trail.
Coming up, pubs throughout England are haunted by spirits. Cemeteries, abandoned hospitals, and old battlefields are some of the most common places people think of when it comes to paranormal activity. But did you know that some spirits seem to prefer more lively locations, where many living people make merry on a daily basis? Places like, say, the old neighborhood pub, where some of the regulars have been known to stick around long after death. March 25th, 2023, Cornwall, England. Believed to have one of the country's most haunted pubs, the Jamaica Inn is no stranger to paranormal activity, and neither are its customers. Watch this glass closely. Watch again as the pint glass inexplicably drops off the table's edge.
At first I wondered if this guy was just swinging his leg and accidentally bumped the table, causing the glass to fall off. But upon closer examination, that's not the case. He doesn't make contact with the table. Instead, this thing just seems to slide on its own as if it had some sort of grudge against him.
When you see a pint glass, a full beer, kind of slide off the table, oftentimes it's the condensation, there's water or beer on the table, but this seemed to be deliberately moving and pushed off the table by some unseen or external force.
A force that may actually have a name. Sailor Jack. A man who, according to legend, was murdered near the Jamaica Inn during the 1700s, and whose spirit was perhaps also the cause of this occurrence in October 2017. Watch the phone just by the doorway as a Jamaica Inn employee is in the kitchen. The phone falls off the hook.
That's a good piece of evidence because there's no rational reason on this video that I can determine why that phone would come off and drop like that.
And the Jamaica Inn isn't the only haunted pub in England. January 2023, in Dunedin. The Coniston Tavern is believed to be haunted by a man named Dave, who not only was a customer, but also lived in the apartment above the bar until he died from a heart attack, allegedly, while drinking a bottle of brandy. And now perhaps tries to prevent others from enjoying their drinks. 4 months later, at that same table, Dave seems to be at it again. This time, causing a glass to explode.
One of the theories about exploding glasses is that when you take one of these out of the dishwasher, it's hot, right? And then you pour a cold drink into it, the temperature change can cause it to crack and explode. And that does happen. But if it's been sitting there for quite some time, there should be an equilibrium and there wouldn't be that drastic change in temperature.
But while Sailor Jack and Dave are known phantom patrons, some pubs have a harder time IDing their haunt. January 17, 2025, in Newmarket, England. It's closing time at the New Wellington pub, and owner Nigel Sampson is bussing the last table of the night, as his daughter and co-owner, Georgina, is behind the bar. Watch closely. As a glass on the table explodes.
My name is Georgina.
My name is Nigel.
And this is our video.
2 customers who just left who are regulars, and a Moretti glass just shattered in arm's length away from me. So of course I've just shouted out saying, "That's not me. I've not broken it," because otherwise I end up getting blamed for doing it and I have to clean the mess up.
That's why we then looked on the CCTV, because I said, "Are you sure you didn't just knock into the table and rock the table and make
Not
it
even
fall?"
near
But
the table.
you definitely weren't anywhere
Not even
near.
near the table.
Sometimes it's really hard for energies to interact with our physical world. And in them aggressively trying to interact with our objects, sometimes they'll put out bursts of energies to like manifest, and maybe energy gets transferred to the object somehow. And in this way, like overly transferred to the point where it caused the glass to completely explode.
And while Georgina and Nigel believe the activity could be the spirits of deceased regulars, landing on a specific customer is proving to be difficult.
We have had a paranormal team here. The Ghostbuster lady said there was at least 400 spirits here, and some of which she sent to the afterlife. I was very shocked to hear how many of them there were. We just assumed it was one, and she did say that there was one here that was trying to catch our attention, and that's why the glasses have been breaking.
For now, Georgina and Nigel have learned to live and work with their spectral patrons. But they do have one request.
I just wish you'd stop breaking the glasses to get attention, because we have to pay for them.
Coming up, an eerie scene in Illinois when a Titanic exhibit mysteriously floods. On April 10, 1912, to great fanfare, the luxury ocean liner Titanic departed from Southampton, England, on its way to New York. 4 days later, after colliding with an iceberg in the North Atlantic, it sank below the surface of the sea in less than 3 hours, taking more than 1,500 passengers and crew with it, and making it one of the worst maritime disasters in modern history. Today, around the world, there are several museums and exhibits dedicated to the tragedy. And at least 3 of those have reported paranormal activity. Recently, one more museum in Illinois was apparently added to that list. June 22nd, 2024, Volo, Illinois. When Jim Moidola, marketing director of the Volo Museum, shows up for work, he finds that the Titanic exhibit, which is about 1.5 years old, has flooded.
My name is Jim Moidola, and this is my video. We walked in one morning to open up, and the whole thing was underwater. And we're like, that's really strange. We had a storm, but this building's 40 years old. It's never flooded, and we've had way worse storms. So we were looking around to see if there was a crack or something. And when we were looking around, we're checking the foundation, no cracks. There's no reason, no burst pipes. There's nothing going on. So then we went to the security tape.
And when they watch the tape, they see this. Water pooling from underneath an antique automobile. A replica of the one single car that happened to be on the Titanic when it sank.
This Renault that's sitting behind me is in the middle of the exhibit. What happens is the way our building is, so this wall on the high part of the land, the water hit that, went around this way to this wall. Now, half of it's an exterior, half it's interior, but it has to go down a trench, a drainage trench, up this trench, and through here. And the source of the leak started under this car. We're like, goosebumps? They were like, no way that's possible. There's probably a good couple inches of water throughout the whole exhibit and hasn't flooded since. Tons of storms have come through, not one leak since. It's crazy.
Something else that's crazy is that the Titanic exhibit is the only area in the museum that flooded.
The museum itself sits on 35 acres. There's probably 20 plus buildings with over 50 exhibits. So the fact that no other exhibits on all the property flooded, just the Titanic flooded, we're like, what? It's crazy.
When you examine this video, it's so strange. I mean, this water is coming from nowhere. I mean, it's not coming from the walls. It's not dripping from the ceiling. It's not rushing in from any other source, but from underneath this vehicle, this car.
The flood we see on the surveillance footage seems to kind of creep into the whole exhibit. And it just kind of reminds me of like how exactly the Titanic would have sunk. Like I just imagine level by level by level just getting flooded. There was like an ominous slow effect that would remind me of what a sinking ship would have probably seemed like before your demise.
Perhaps even more ominous is what happened in this very same location before.
It started as an antique firefighter exhibit. So it had a few old engines and some equipment and uniforms and things like that. They had that for several years, and then one night, overnight, it just burned everything down to like the skeleton of the building. And we couldn't find any gas leaks or any source of electric shortage or anything like that.
So then, could the building itself be haunted?
I love the idea that this particular building is somehow just like inherently built for irony. You know, it's a firefighters museum and it burns down. And now it's a Titanic museum and it floods. Like this building has its own personality, and that personality is one that is going to make us sort of wonder about the level of coincidence in the world.
I think that it's not the building that's necessarily haunted. I think it's the objects that hold spiritual attachments. Like most museums, they tend to be really active because a lot of the objects within the museum have their own past, have their own history, might even have spirits that are attached to the object because they're very special.
Especially if those objects represent a horrific tragedy.
There are numerous Titanic exhibits all across the globe. And there's a lot of paranormal activity that seems to be associated with at least a handful of those. And it makes you wonder if our reverence and awareness of this tragic moment in history might be drawing in the activity.
If that's the case, Jim is taking measures to capture more of it.
After that happened, now we're like, make sure everything's on. We put an extra Wi-Fi piece in here to really make sure all those cameras are up and running all the time and there's backups because, you know, if there is something that's going to happen, we want to see it for sure and share it with you guys.
What should you do in the event you witness something paranormal? Here are some tips to get it all on camera. Check your footage, and then check it again. Trust that what you're seeing really is otherworldly. Don't stop recording.
God, I am freaking out in here. Look at that, look at that.
Even if you're scared. And if you do catch something, email us at submitparanormal@gmail.com. Your footage could be seen right here on Paranormal Caught on Camera.